Three, two, one.
Hey, PHS. Welcome back to another Go Knuckle Talk with Flo. I'm Flo, and of course, my amazing co host, Lisa Nodelin Hafner. Hey, Lisa.
Hi, Michael. Here we are. Another great show.
Yes, ma'am. Let's just go ahead and get started and introduce our two guests.
Yes, we have with us tonight our wonderful coaches from way back in the day, Coach Dennis Tomlin and Coach Darrell Selke. And thanks, guys, for joining us. We are so excited that you've agreed to spend a little bit of your time with us to go down memory lane.
Well, if you can talk about Plainview when we were there, you can't talk about a better subject.
Yeah. I totally agree. So, Coach Selke, while we were waiting for you to log in, I asked Coach Tomlin where he lived, and he said he's still in Lubbock and occasionally spends time with his daughter in Plano. So, where are you living?
I live just outside of Waco, in the country, and we've been here since '92, and for 6 years before that, we were in Meridian. That's where when I left Plainview, that's where we came.
Okay.
Well, cool. Well, that's great, guys. I myself, I live six miles north of Hempstead in the country, which is about 40 miles northwest of Houston. So, I work in Houston, but north of Houston, but I try to stay away downtown and all that stuff. But anyway, let's get started with the questions. I was gonna wait for the last, but I'm gonna ask right now because I just very interested. Coach Selke, you know who Rudy Rudiger is, that famous Notre Dame player who didn't have a lick of talent, but his heart was bigger than any player put together in that team. So, if you could name a Plainview athlete was your Rudy Rudiger and why?
Well, to start with, as Coach Tomlin well knows, we've had so many. And in Plainview, I mean, it really, I don't know that people that live there and haven't been in other places understand how much talent we had, as we came through there. More during Dennis, Coach Tomlin's tenure, when I was a junior high coach and he was angry red coach. I love to say that. I still use it on a lot of things, a whole lot of things. But anyway, there's just so many, but just to give you one or two to kind of think about it. It's ironic that when Robert was on the other night, he made some very
he did
nice compliments, but the one of the guys that really always really made an impression on me was Victor Braddock. I'm not trying to downplay this at all, but I was a little brother of a very good athlete, and sometimes it's hard to live up to a Ronnie Braddock or a Robert Braddock because they were so talented. And probably 3 years ago, something like that, Victor, he actually wrote me and texted me, and he wanted to thank me because I had talked to him at a time when he was really struggling with being the little brother of two really good guys. And so he was kind of acting out and things like that sometimes, and we just had to talk about that. And, I thought that was, so I guess that would be one. Another one that I think a whole lot of, he was an average athlete that Coach Tomlin and I, we ended up we both coached the defensive backs. And he had it first. I had it easy because all I had to do was go back in and just kind of add to what he had already taught those guys. And basically, it's the cream of the crop as far as natural athleticism with those kind of kids. But I had one, Brent Gabriel, that never complained. Every day he worked his head off, and he was so smart out there. He was able to compete with all of these guys that were much better athletes than him, but he was able to make some huge plays because he spent so much time trying to get better, trying to learn. And so, we might not think of Brent as having a lot of issues. I mean, my goodness, he's married to Miss Texas.
That's the truth.
But anyway, I think of him as one of the really hard workers. There's just so many. I could go on and on, but that's just two that really draw my attention.
What about you, Coach Tomlin?
Well, I can't remember the athlete's name. He ran the mile for us on the track team, and he never did very well except the district meet, and he fell down at the district meet and got up and scored a point, scored sixth place in the district meet, and we won the district in 1978 by 1 point. It was the first time in 50 years that the track team had won the district. And I have racked my brain to try to remember his name. I can't remember it. I had another one that was an athlete, but I don't know that people realize the sacrifices he made. Kenneth Story.
Oh, I know Kenneth.
He got up every morning at 4:30, went to the donut shop and worked, came to school, went to school, worked out for football, track, and never said a word. And a few years ago, I stumbled onto that 1978 track scorebook, and he scored 40 points at the district track meet. And I called Kenneth. Luthez Thompson got me his number. I called him, and I asked him, I said, do your kids believe those stories? And he says, no, Coach, they don't. I said, well, I'm fixing to send proof. I said, nobody wants this book as bad as other than me and you. And so I sent him that scorebook that had his 40 points that he scored at the district track meet that year. And I had another athlete named Bruce Wesley. I think you all remember him. He was a very good athlete, but he did something that, and Coach Selke, I wished I'd asked you earlier, but he was supposed to be the quarterback of that 1978 football team. And when Coach Sherwood moved in, and the staff voted that Scott would be the starting quarterback. And Bruce Wesley played safety for me, and I'll tell you, that young man never said a word. He was yes sir and no sir. He was everything you could ask for a leader. He was a true leader. And I look back on that a few years later, and I was just amazed that he could give up what he gave up and be such a young man that he was. And I admire him for that. So that's my three stories.
Well, you mentioned Coach, you mentioned Kenneth Story. I live right down the alley from him. I mean, I could literally walk to his house. And, I was a younger kid in middle school, and Irvin and Oscar Mosley and those guys used to come over, and I would try to play football with these major athletes. And I remember once Kenneth had a basketball goal, and we would play 21. And if you remember, if you score a bucket, you get to shoot 3 free throws. So I would turn my back to him, and I'm right there by the goal. He finally told me he would come up right behind me and shoot his free throws and cheat and then scoot back. I'm like, really, Kenneth? He told me that in high school. I'm like, Kenneth, you're a phenomenal basketball player. You didn't have to cheat. And if you recall, he was drafted by the Bears, the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. And he was a football, track, and basketball player. He was a true athlete, a true gentleman too.
Absolutely. And talking about high jumper, oh geez, he was phenomenal high jumper.
Coach Billingsley was his high jump coach when we went there. Yeah.
Yeah, he was such a good athlete that he really set the bar high for other athletes in Plainview, male or female, because he was a legend. I mean, we all looked up to him.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead, Coach Selke. You want to say something?
No, I just said he was literally set the bar high.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to tell a story.
Okay.
I've thought about this. I call the story the beginning. And in 1978, I was in Spearman, Texas, working for Greg Sherwood. And Greg Sherwood called a meeting of this coaching staff there, and he said, tomorrow I'm going to interview for this Lubbock Coronado job, the Plainview High School, and I believe it was Seminole. And he says, I'm probably going to take one of those jobs, and I want you to think about it, whether you want to go with me or not. And so when everybody left, I went by and I talked to Coach Sherwood, and I said, Coach Sherwood, I said, please don't come back and we're Plainview Bulldogs. I said, I grew up in Silverton. Plainview has lost more games than anybody in the history of the state of Texas. They had a 26-game losing streak. Nobody's been successful. Don't do that to us. He said, I won't. Well, guess what? He came back. So he told us he goes first, and he's there about a month before we can come at the semester. And at the semester, he calls a meeting of us in Spearman, and he says, fellas, I'm going to tell you right now, however good a coach you think you are, you better be better than you are. He says, I have never seen a room full of athletes that are like at Plainview, Texas. He says, I've never seen anything like it. It's crazy. Everybody's going to get to coach probably the best athlete they've ever coached on that one football team. So when you come here for spring, you be ready to be the best coach you can be. And did you know, Darrell, that we had 11 kids on that team signed Division I scholarships, juniors and seniors?
You want me to name them?
Hey, go ahead, yeah. And
No.
I'll help you out. I can name them.
Okay. Let's see. We had McWilliams at center.
Yes.
I go in Burge. Was Burge tackle?
Burge. Yeah, that's who I couldn't think of. The right tackle, Burge.
Yeah, Raper and
yes.
Let's see. Tight end was Jay, right?
Yes, that's the other J's who I couldn't think of.
Can I help you, Coach? You had Pat Brown.
No, wait a minute, Michael. I got this.
Okay. I'll back up.
Billy Williams, Scott Sherwood, Royce Coleman, Irvin Davis,
Kenneth Story,
Kevin. And I don't know that Kevin signed. He could have. He was good enough. That was the ones I remembered.
What about Pat Brown?
He didn't sign a Division I scholarship, I don't think.
Well, hey, Coach, you mentioned. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Coach.
Oh, Pat was really good, kind of in the second generation coming through.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to say one other thing, and I want to ask Coach Selke about this too. But listen to these names: Jaime Rivera, David Gallardo, Bobby Reyes, Arnold Pardo, Benito Herrera, and I know there's some more. How many football teams in 1978 had that many Hispanic players that were of their caliber? I don't know of anyone that had those kind of kids that were Hispanic. Do you, Darrell? Do you remember?
No, I definitely don't. But I do have one little tidbit that I can add to that. Even though you were coaching them, I always gave kids stupid names for some reason. And for those kids, when I would talk to them, I just asked my dad, I said, what do y'all want to be known as? And they said, the Mexican Mafia.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. Do you know what I named them? The Spanish Armada. And we lost Jaime about 2 years ago, and I got invited to Jaime Rivera's last birthday party, and I got to spend it with his entire family. And I walk in, and I was a celebrity. It's the coach. Everybody knew me. And so I said, well, I want to tell some stories about Jaime. And I started telling stories, and they knew every story. Jaime had told them, and they didn't believe it. And I was
Wow.
telling every story. And
Wow.
and I called them the Spanish Armada. And I told Jaime, I said, Jaime, I don't think you know this, but 3 years after you graduated, every class I taught, the first day I stood up and I said, Jaime Rivera's got my back. And if any of you want to cause trouble, he'll take care of it.
Oh, he was a tough son of a bitch.
Oh,
He was a tough son of a bitch.
everybody in Plainview was afraid of Jaime Rivera.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was a little guy, but he was tall.
Yes.
Well,
Those were-
Bobby Reyes he was in the record book for a long time because he had took an interception back 108 yards.
Exactly. I was coaching. I
Oh,
was
wow.
standing on the side. I was standing on the sideline. It was against Coronado, I believe, in
Yep.
Lubbock. I thought of
Yep.
that today.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He was
real-
little, but he was fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super
They
fast,
were,
yeah.
they were tough. But anyway, I just wanted to tell that.
Look, hey,
Oh,
Coach,
that's a great story. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I want to go back to you're saying Sherwood interviewed at Coronado and what was the other
Seminole.
school?
Seminole.
Was he offered those jobs? Do you know? You remember?
I don't know. I just know that going into the Plainview job, he wasn't the defensive coordinator that was here I think was supposed to get the job, but they ended up hiring Coach Sherwood, and I want to ask you Plainview folks, because I tell this story all the time. When we went there in 1978, it was the perfect storm, and one of the things that was perfect about it, and Darrell will know this, Plainview had 2 junior highs for years. And those 2 junior highs played each other, usually for the district championship in football, basketball. Am I right, Darrell?
Yes.
And so when they got on the high school football team, they didn't like each other. And the parents had a hard time with it. And I think when we got there in 1978, it was one of the first groups that the kids had played together. They had a 7th grade school and 8th grade school, so they didn't hate each other. And when Coach Sherwood walked in there and slapped that angry red "Enough Said" sign and with that red dot on it and called it loyal to effort and unity was everything, they just bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. Am I right, Darrell?
Oh yeah, it was a special time. I'm right now. I've been in education for 53 years, still in it, and during that time, I see lots of athletes. I was fortunate enough to be around some pretty good ones in Central Texas. But anyway, even those good ones. I've been at Mart. They've got 8 state championships.
Yes.
We played Salina. They had more kids on the football team than we had in the school. But either one of those teams couldn't have compared to the way that Plainview was so cohesive and everything.
Yes.
I mean, the red dot was exactly the way Coach wanted it to be.
Yep.
He wanted everybody to pull together. That's why when they got that huddle before they broke out start the game, and they came onto the field, when they were so tight, that was a red dot with their helmets.
Well, he told them that was a signal to the fans that they were going to give their total effort, and the fans are going to yell back at them and be loyal to only one thing, loyal to their effort. Not whether they won or lost, but whether they gave their effort. And so, yeah, it was a perfect. Ed Moore we used to sit in the defensive meetings, and Ed Moore, he'd say, guys, I'm going to tell you something right now. You better enjoy this. This is a one in a lifetime. You're never going to see another. Plainview will never be like this again. He said, "This is unique." And I didn't know how true that was.
Yes. If you've listened to any of our previous podcasts, we've all our guests have shared similar stories about
Yes.
what a magical time that was. It's like this little time capsule of Plainview that everything came together so cohesive, classmates, teachers, coaches. I mean, it was like this bond that we all had.
Yes, and of course we all know who the ringleader of that was. That was Greg Sherwood.
Right.
I don't know if people know this or remember this or not, but when we won the district championship in 1978. That was the first one in the history of the school.
Right.
Right.
Okay, they hold a pep rally at school and present the district trophy to Greg Sherwood. Do you know what Greg Sherwood did with that trophy? He handed it to Mr. Ryan, the band director.
Oh, OT.
Oh,
OT
wow.
Ryan.
Oh.
OT cried.
No.
Yes. And they loved each other. And OT Ryan, the way I understand the story, told him he never met a football coach that he liked until Greg Sherwood. And I remember OT coming over and asking, said, "Coach Sherwood, Johnny Turpin's my number one chair trumpet player, and what are we going to do with him at halftime?" Coach Sherwood said, "You can have him. He's yours." and yeah, but he gave that he handed OT Ryan that trophy that day I mean, it was something to behold, to be there when that happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
That just really touches my heart. I'm gonna cry.
Don't you
Oh my
remember
gosh.
that the football boys actually held a pep rally at the stadium for the band before they went to contests?
Yes. Yeah.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It was everything. I mean, I figure if the Ag boys would have been going to check grass or something, we'd have been the best at that.
Hey, I'm gonna. B. Terrell mentioned, he was in the '82 or '83 football season that I guess it was Hereford. They supposedly sprayed HHS on the football field, and B. Terrell said it was probably Greg Sherwood that did that. So, do you guys remember that when that happened?
I do.
Well, let me put it to you this way.
Did you guys spray it?
It did not happen without his knowledge. He did lots of things. I remember he did so many things. Darrell, do you remember the fake scouting reports that he would
leave them late in the dressing room?
Yeah, and the scouts would bring them back, and it would say, "Kevin Igo, he couldn't block his mother." No, you don't have to be afraid of him. I mean, it would just insult them. And I got to tell one other story. I don't know if you remember this, but the first game we played at Plainview was Estacado, and they were ranked like number 1 or 2 in the state in Class 4A, and we were just Plainview in Class 5A. We were nothing. And Estacado comes over. And there, you remember that visiting dressing room, Darrell, that was right next to us? Yeah. Well, they're over there banging on their lockers. Who dat? Who dat gonna beat them Matadors? Who dat? And just banging. And our kids got so fired up that Coach Moore had to go get Coach Sherwood. They were tearing our lockers up and bring him in the dressing room, and we had to go out early. They were he had gotten him so jacked up, and then when they started that, they just lost control of themselves and were tearing up our locker room, and Coach Sherwood had to go in and say his famous words, "Pack up, dogs," in that voice that he had. And I mean, some of them never touched the ground when they left that building that night. That was
Wow.
it was awesome.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Coach Tom, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, pack up, dogs. I've used it at every single school, not dogs, but I've used it either.
Yes. Yeah.
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 I mean, I signs over the door. We were Plainview everywhere I ever went. Just happened to be with other school.
Well,
You
I
just have
just
to be
know
another
that
school.
he'd talk to those kids right before they go out, and you could just feel it. They were waiting for him to say "pack up dogs," and he had a way to say it that nobody else could say it. He just had, there was something. It just send chills down your back. It was.
Well, Coach Tomlin, since you knew Coach Sherwood a lot longer, did he have a degree in psychology? Because he obviously used a lot of sports psychology on these athletes.
I don't know. He was the greatest high school motivator, I think, in the United States of America. When he went to Plainview, there was nothing that he didn't motivate. The downtown clubs that met downtown, when he met with them, the radio station, the city manager, the mayor, it didn't matter. Everybody was on board with the Plainview, with the Angry Red and Upset. And he had his birthday game every year. I said, Coach Sherwood, why did you leave every 3 or 4 years? He says, because I run out of birthdays. I can't have a birthday every time I need to have it. He had win week. I don't know if you remember win week. Win week was the week he would take the weakest team we had on our schedule. And one year it was Lubbock High. And that week he called the mothers together and he said, when your boys get home after practice today, I want win all over their rooms. Balloons. I want, and we had to put win on every Coke that was sold in the field house. He did, and then he had to fake scouting report that he would put out from the other teams. I can't remember all. He had something for every week, some motivation. And he told us, he said, I'll motivate the team. You motivate your players. And I want them as high as they can be every week. Every week. And so that's what we set out to do.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
he
wonderful.
had a plan. Yeah, he had a plan. Isn't that right, Darrell? Nothing got by him.
Oh, well, for example, we would leave the field house, say at 4:00. At 4:17, you handed out the Hershey's. At 4:19, you handed out the Cokes. It was that, it was that specific. When the quarterback took the snap on 3:32, which was our base play,
yeah,
he was going to cowboy step and take a 45-degree angle.
Was he in the military?
No, but
I don't know.
Okay.
Darrell, did you hear the boys speak last week? Did you hear them talk?
I did.
Oh, they got to talking about the pancakes. Remember, he served them. Somewhere it got out that was the carbohydrates. Some college was feeding their players pancakes. So Coach Sherwood came up. He paid. The boys had to pay at the cafeteria, and the cafeteria ladies made the pancakes for them, and we ate a pregame meal of pancakes. They thought that was, and I thought everybody liked the pancakes, but I found out they didn't.
No, you need a nap after pancakes. But I do want to say one thing about Coach Sherwood. Listening to all these stories, obviously I didn't play football, but I was a cheerleader. But when Coach Sherwood came to Plainview, I was born and raised in Plainview, so a long history there. He didn't just bring athletes together. He brought our high school together, and he brought our community together in a way that Plainview had never been before.
Yes,
he really exemplified what servant leadership is about, and
yes.
he led by example. And I love that he had really high expectations of everyone, not just his football players. I mean, as a cheerleader on the sideline, he had expectations of us. He had expectations of the band. He had expectations of the parents and the community. Like, if I'm here and I'm going to be your coach, I need support. I need the community.
Yes.
yeah, this is the team constitutes everybody in this town, not just my players. And I
Yes.
really think he really modeled that really well. And it was a really unique and special time. I mean, it was like a dream team while you guys were all there together under his helm. And what a gift you had, and that we were the recipients of all that.
Well, I asked him one time too, when he went to Lubbock as athletic director, why he was getting out of coaching. And he says, Dennis, I can't put together another coaching staff. He said, the coaching staff I put together at Plainview was exceptional. Every man all the way through. Billingsley, Tone, Noy, Selke, everyone. He said, I can't do it again. He said, I'm done. That's the hardest part, is to put together the Kevin Wisemans and the Wendy Williamses and the Ed Moores, and get all those guys together at one place. That really, Darrell, I don't know. I didn't know a coach that didn't care for the kids. Not one.
They were phenomenal. They were
Yes.
phenomenal. Oh boy, that's not how we do things. Yeah, Coach Bill, it was the first time that we ever saw y'all had the spring ball. Coach Bill's out there. A bunch of junior high coaches were all, including me. We were all kind of kneeling down, walking over there, and he said, "Boy, let me tell you one thing. That ain't how we do it."
Yeah, they all have
great bunch.
a lot of personality.
So did you all meet when you moved to Plainview, Coach Tomlin, or did y'all know each other before?
Oh no, I didn't know anybody until I got to Plainview. Just the staffs from Spearman. He brought me and Ed Moore and Wendy Williams. And he brought a wonderful coach, George Franklin.
Yes, he was.
If you didn't know George Franklin, you missed something. He was the girls' track coach.
Yep.
And,
I remember him. Yeah.
Yes, he was a special person, and I think I see Buck Buchanan and Noy, and he brought Billingsley and Tone came from Iowa Park. And of course Weatherspoon. Coach Weatherspoon. He hired him. Weatherspoon played for him at one time.
Hey, there was a coach. He was not Coach Buchanan, but there was another coach, dark hair, glasses. He was pretty stout. He was a big muscle man. I thought it was Taylor, but I don't know. I thought he coached the 8th grade team, or the freshman.
Who was our weight coach? I was trying to think of his name the other day, Darrell. Our off-season weight coach. I know him like I know at the back of his hand. He came from Spearman with us.
Yeah.
Who?
Billingsley
and Beasley, Coach Beasley.
Yes,
that's who you're thinking.
He gave me the nickname Flo.
Is that?
He gave me the nickname Flo, and it's stuck for 50 years.
Oh, I did not know where that came from.
Yes. He called because of Flores.
Coach
Come
Beasley.
on, Flo. That was him.
All right.
Hey, I read an article, or started reading. I'm going to finish it because I'm trying to get some of the players from the 78, 79 on here. Jay, he mentioned Raper, or
Billy Raper.
He's going to try to get Sherwood and Roy. So he's working on that. But I read an article that Coach Sherwood gave these little red dots, and he said, "Gentlemen, put them on your watch." And they're
That's
like,
right.
"Well, why?" Because he says every time you look at the time, you're going to think, I guess. I'll let you finish.
You're going to think about the Angry Red, the unity, what all it stands for. Yes. And then he gave them out to the Booster Club.
Wow.
They wanted them. And when those mothers spoke, Coach Sherwood jumped. Yeah. He handed them out. They ended up having, I don't know where they got them. They had Levi's made with that Angry Red and Upset red button on the hip pocket. Do you remember that?
I don't.
You don't. They sold them downtown.
They sold them downtown. I think they sold
Yeah.
them at Mars and Son.
Yes, I think that's right. You remember?
Did
don't
you have
Lisa?
a pair, Lisa? Did you
I
buy
had
a
a
pair?
pair. They had.
Yes.
I had a pair. Yes, that was a big deal.
Yes.
Well,
Well,
let me-
somebody said Royce Coleman. Where's Royce?
I don't know.
I don't know. Jay, I mean, again, I'm hoping to hopefully I can get those 4 or 5 gentlemen on
Okay.
our show. So
Well, any of them off that 78 team can tell you any player, but I think that the 1978 Plainview Bulldogs was the best team in the state of Texas that year. The only reason we didn't beat Permian and why we didn't win the state championship is our kids in our town had never been there. You remember they went crazy. Darrell, do you remember they flew Santa Claus in a helicopter to practice? Did y'all know
Yeah.
that, Flo?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. We're out on the practice field and a helicopter comes in and lands and Santa Claus gets out of the helicopter. The parents had him and they gave him some kind of gift. I don't know what it was. And he flies off. And I remember sitting in the coach's office and we're going to play Permian. And Coach Sherwood says, I think this has gotten out of control. He says, there's things going on I don't know anything about. And but yeah, I really think if we'd have gotten there a couple of years earlier, that we would have been state champions that year. Because it wasn't, Royce Coleman was the #1 running back in the state of Texas. He was the leading rusher in the state of Texas that year.
Do you
And
remember played in El Paso at the Sun Bowl?
tell that story. See if you remember what I remember.
Well, they let it get out that Royce was hurt
Yeah.
and that he had ankle and he wasn't going to play. So
Yeah.
he for the warm-ups. And then they went and they dressed him, got his stuff on, came out, and I think he rushed for about 250 yards or something.
Yeah, Coach Sherwood, he didn't tell us. We all thought Royce was hurt. Had him in a walking cast and brought him out in crutches.
Oh,
He's
wow.
standing on the sideline. We go in and there's this miraculous healing. And I mean, he didn't tell the coaches. I mean, that's how much he wanted it sold that Royce wasn't playing.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That-
If what?
It wouldn't have mattered if he played that game. I mean,
No.
y'all would.
But Coach Sherwood wasn't taking any chances.
Oh no, he wasn't.
So he.
Do
Yeah.
that Sherwood was human. Let me just tell you 2 human stories about it.
Okay.
One Coach Beasley was talking about him a while ago. He had kind of a strange personality, or
Yes, he did. Yes.
and he was still in awe of Coach Sherwood and loved him. But Stan got hurt one night, and Coach was out on the field, and he was telling Stan he needed to get up, get off the field. And Beasley told Coach Sherwood, "You need to get back, and you need to treat your son like you do everybody else." And
Wow.
Sherwood turned around and walked off the field, and he did what he said. And that was that was one of his stories that kind of made him human. And then another one later on, after Dennis was gone. No, it wasn't either, because I was still the junior high coordinator. But Coach Sherwood was Lubbock brought him in to speak. They wanted to change their junior high program to be like ours. And so me and Coach Sherwood and Ed went and we all spoke to the Lubbock coaching staff on how we did everything. And it was a good meeting, and we got everything. We were coming back, and Ed and Coach Sherwood were. I was like a mouse around those guys. I could suck up because I loved them. Everything I do has some version of what they did. And anyway, we're driving home, and they're kind of jawing back and forth about something. Coach Sherwood would like to get on Coach Moore and drive him nuts. And anyway, we're driving down I-27 out between Abernathy and Health Center or somewhere out where that roadside park is. And Coach Sherwood is driving, and he had that old maroon van, and he was driving down the road, and all of a sudden he doesn't even realize it's not the highway, and he goes through that park. And because Ed were arguing, and so we go in one and out the other. And
Oh Lord.
so Ed might have kidded a little bit about that. I didn't.
Well, Ed Moore tells the story all the time that he made Coach Sherwood the coach he is. And I said, how'd you do that? He said, when Coach Sherwood hired me and Spearman, he said, Sherwood, he says, you played us every year, and I was the defensive coordinator at Phillips. He says, how many times did you beat us when you were at Dalhart? He says, we never did. He says, you know why? And he said, no. He said, because you overworked your kids. He says, if I'm going to be on this staff, we're not lighting matches so we could read plays and they're still running plays after dark. We're going to back off of these guys, and I'm going to coach those defensive linemen under the shade tree. Remember that, Flo? Last week
I
you mentioned
I heard about that.
Coach.
The jug tree and the jug ball. You better not touch either one.
Yeah. And so if Coach Moore said practice was over, practice was over. But
wow.
One of the funny things, we were having a staff meeting, Coach Sherwood says, we got a problem on the offense and we got to solve it. And of course, one of the defensive coaches said, what is it? He said, well, every time Royce Coleman touches the ball, he scores. And he runs for a touchdown. If we're on the opposite 10-yard line, he runs 90 yards. Every time he scores. He said, it's taking too much practice time to get him back and get in the huddle and run another play. We're going to have to move down to the 10 or 15-yard line and let him score from there every time. that's the way Royce scored every time he touched the ball. You weren't in practice. You couldn't stop him. And,
wow.
Anyway,
Well, let me ask you guys this. I'm pretty sure Coach Sherwood never got kicked out of a game, but did he ever get flagged for? I mean, was he the type of coach that would get upset and be vocal, or was he kind of like a Tom Landry and just look at you?
My experience with it, the years I was with him, he had such respect from the officials and to him. And
Okay.
One of the things that he would do before a game, he would go to the officials and he would say, if I have a kid on my football team that's talking to their players and saying something that he shouldn't be saying, I want to know who it is. You report it to me. And he knew those guys. They respected him, and I never heard him get after an official.
Okay. Wow.
Did you, Darrell? Did you ever?
No, I never. I saw him get on only one kid, and I'm not going to call his name.
I was going to say
he was pretty good.
I never heard him raise his voice.
I didn't either. Until one day.
I was with him for 8 years. I never heard him raise his voice, and
yeah,
and he could control a room. When he walked in, he had control of it. Yeah. And he didn't try. That's the thing I've noticed. I've been around several really good leaders, and the real leaders, I wasn't one of them. They don't try to lead. They just do it. It's just who they are. And that's the way Greg Sherwood was. That's just who he was. He didn't even have to think about it,
He was special.
Yeah.
Well, what about Coach Moore? I mean, Coach Moore has brought quite a bit. He, I was a pitcher and I played baseball, and until I got up to the varsity level, my curve was more of a hanging curve. I would just float. Well, he taught me, he goes, no, you got to snap it down. And man,
Yeah.
after that, my curve just fell off the table. I mean, that man just taught me one thing, but it was a big in his hands. The baseball, I couldn't even see the baseball with his big old mitts. So
He was amazing.
Yeah.
any good stories about Mr. Coach Moore?
There's so many. Now, if anybody had a psychology degree, he did.
Yeah,
I don't.
he was in his own way. Well, if he didn't talk to you, that's when you were in trouble.
Exactly. That's exactly right. You didn't want him not talking to you. Darrell's right.
He'd walk up and he'd turn around and walk away. He'd just turn his back and he'd look the other direction. And if you messed up, you were going to pay. I mean, there was no. I love him like that.
Coach Moore did something that I'd never seen before. You remember Kevin Woods?
Oh,
Did you?
Yes.
Kevin Woods never put his hand on the ground. He didn't get down in a football stance. He played a 3 technique, and somebody asked Coach Moore, says, he doesn't even get down. He says, why should he? He doesn't need to. Nobody can block him. I don't want to get in his way. Yeah, he just he was very, very, very unique. And he didn't have to try. But he could put you in your place so fast with just about 4 words.
I
didn't want to.
2 or 3 Ed stories real quick.
Okay.
One, Benny Witherspoon. I was over at Ed's house one night doing some work for him. Coach Moore was a genius at a lot of things. He didn't know how to screw a garden hose in. I mean, he couldn't do it. I had to do everything for him. And so I was over to doing whatever. And Gene asked me, his wife asked me if I wanted to have dinner with him. So I was going to eat with him. And Benny he said, Spoon's coming over for dinner. He's supposed to be here about 6. Well, it got to be 6. Then it got to be 6:15 and 6:30. And up walks Witherspoon. And he starts knocking on the door. Well, in Ed's house, the front door has a window that looked into the kitchen. And Ed looked out, and Spoon's standing there knocking on the door trying to get in, and Ed won't let him in. And we sat there and we ate everything. I was full. And Coach Moore said, eat it. He ain't getting none of it. He wouldn't let me. He just stood there on the and watched us eat.
That's funny.
Did that.
Yeah, he only did it once.
Well, gentlemen, I have a personal question for y'all. That's not about Coach Sherwood. It's about you. Like, what inspired you to want to be a coach?
Go ahead, Darrell.
Well, one of the questions that Mike asked was, where did I play? And were you a good athlete? I was not a good athlete. I was a very average athlete with a huge love for the game of football. And I just that, world was complete. And so I don't know. I just love the game so much. And then I played on a team my first 2 years of playing. It was terrible. We were absolutely atrocious. And we got a new coach in, a guy named Jack Weldon, and he came in positive. I had a young coach that was beat us down, physically and mentally. Anyway, I got a young guy, and he that was really good. Anyway, he was real positive. And when I think of the coaches, Coach Weldon was that's where I get the positivity, or what I like to think of that. Coach Sherwood was just the knowledge of the game, knowledge of how to get around people. And then Coach Moore, those are the 3 guys that had huge on me. And Coach Moore was just, using different things to get to us that would make us want to please him.
Yeah.
And,
so you were inspired. So you were inspired by other coaches.
other coaches.
And
I had no. Do I?
you ran the hurdles, didn't you, in high school?
I ran a little bit
Okay.
in
Okay.
college, in the hurdles, and yeah, I mean, I love doing that. In fact, I'll brag here for just a second. Last year, I took my granddaughter that was a junior, and never hurdled in her life. We had 7 workouts, and she got second in the state.
Oh,
And so
nice.
Wow. Good for you.
Wow.
but she
Wow.
was pretty. But anyway, so I enjoy that. Yeah, I love coaching kids. I like to be around kids. Just to be real honest, most of my life, I'd much rather be around kids than I would parents. I mean, adults.
Adults.
What
I never
about you,
grew up.
Coach Tom? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'm 74 years old, and I'm in. I've got the mind of a 13-year-old.
That's scary.
It's scary.
Well, my story is similar to Darrell's. When I moved to Silverton, Texas, I'd never been around football, never been around athlete. Baseball is the only thing I'd ever played. And I remember at the end of my freshman year, I told my football coach, I said, I want your job. He said, well, there's a problem with that, Dennis. And I said, what's that? He said, you have to have a college degree to coach. And I said, don't tell me that. Because I couldn't pass 2 nickels. I mean, I barely stayed eligible. And so I had to change. I wanted to coach so bad. And it was just, I saw it was just in my blood that I said, okay, I know how to be a jerk in the classroom. So if I know how to be a jerk in the classroom, I know how to be a good guy in the classroom. So I moved to the front row, raised my hand and said, yes, sir, and no, sir, and yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. Did my homework, and there's nothing I would rather have done than coach. And then after I got into coaching, that's when I found out that I really love kids. I was like Darrell. I'd rather be around kids, and the more mature I got, and the longer I did it, the better I got at it. And and kids needed help, and they needed somebody they could trust. And so I began to do that with a lot of kids at a lot of different places. And I did it for 34 years, and I never went to work, not one time. Even when I got fired, I still never went to work. It was great. I loved it, and still do. I still find myself doing it.
So, Coach Tomlin, I'm going to tell you something. When I was in high school, it was interesting. I was really intimidated by you, but at the same time, I knew that if I ever had a problem, I could go to you. Like, I knew that. I just inherently knew that if I was in trouble or had any kind of issue or problem, even though I was so intimidated, the intimidation came out of respect for you, but I did know that. I knew that I could go to you. I mean, I had that level of confidence and safety that like you were a strong, steady person, and that I could have gone to.
Well, I have so many stories out of Plainview of kids that I helped that were in real trouble. And I got them through some hard times, and enjoyed every minute of it. I took some risk, and I never got hurt from it. But the kids at Plainview needed somebody, and I know Darrell's got stories. I coached in the middle school my last 10 years, and whew, that's a full-time job down there, just working with kids.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Kids need leadership. They need role models and leadership, and they need to know, because you don't know how many kids' lives you change. You mentioned Jaime Rivera, who I was friends with, and I, as a freshman, I was trying to get him to go to church because I felt like that would help him. And that what you do and what y'all have done in your careers is left indelible imprints in kids' lives that turned their lives around in such a positive manner that they've gone on to be successful. And, that's to really be commended of both of you. Not a lot of teachers are in it. My sister's a superintendent in Plano. She's superintendent. And I hear stories all the time. And, a lot of times parents are not involved. And that's where teachers and coaches come in. You're like a second parent. Yeah.
Yep.
Bravo to you, gentlemen.
Well,
Yeah.
we've talked about some pretty good coaches, but we haven't talked about some amazing ones. One of Dennis's closest friends, and one of the men I greatly admire, is Wendy Williams. I mean, Wendy was more than just a good coach. Wendy was another guy that influenced kids and did it very positively.
Yes.
And I haven't seen him much lately. I bumped into him at a Baylor game not 4 or 5 years ago. But he's a tremendous guy that's been through the staff at Plainview. Sam Harrell, unbelievable Christian man.
Yes.
Just there has been some people that came through that have they've changed kids in a way that you don't make much money doing this job, but
Buck Buchanan was one of them. Buck Buchanan was one of them. He influenced kids that we didn't know about. Yeah.
So there's
Coach
just so
Billingsley.
many.
Yeah.
Oh, could you imagine if we'd brought Coach Billingsley and Coach Keith on? Those two, they've got 100 years experience at Plainview. They're very, very close. Coach Keith just quit in the last year or two, and he started before I did, and I started in '76.
Yeah.
And
well, I started in '69, Darrell. I got this story. I met my granddaughter's fiance about a month ago, and he graduated from Amarillo High, and she graduated from Amarillo High. And so we were sitting there talking, and I reached over and I tapped him on the leg. I said, in 1978, the Plainview Bulldogs kicked Amarillo High's ass all over. And he looked at me and he said, my dad wasn't born yet.
Oh my God.
That's what I said. I got to add 20 years to my story. My goodness.
That's funny. Hey, you mentioned Christian, Coach Harold. I know that you guys would take some of the athletes to Estes Park in Colorado. Yeah. Was that something started in Plainview, or did Coach Sherwood start that prior?
He did it at Spearman.
Okay.
Yeah.
He and John Hill probably.
Yeah.
They put that thing together.
Yes.
And I went, took my son, and I went. Trying to think who the year I did. But yeah, that was an amazing time right there. Do y'all remember Ricky Tullis? Ricky played tight end, also played basketball, but he lives here in Waco, and he went on that trip, and that was really made a significant difference in his life.
And that's wonderful. For people that are viewing out there, Estes Park is FCA camp, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, for those that don't know what Estes Park is about. I just want to put that out there for our viewers.
When I was at Spearman, Coach Sherwood sent me and my whole family with the team, with the group that went, and with my girls and everything. Yeah, it was very meaningful. Yes.
That's cool. Well, I want to ask practical jokes. Did you guys, coaches, used to do practical jokes, to each other or to players? Now, be honest.
There might have been a time or two.
You're not going to share the story.
Are you talking about down in the middle school?
Either.
Anywhere. No, some of our best ones were actually when I got up to the high school. we
Uh,
one of them, and I'm not going to call the coach name because I don't want to.
I understood.
But we were going. We drove from Plain. No, the first time we flew. Now that's a whole nother story. We flew out to El Paso to scout, and Sam Harrell was with us. And his fingers, when that plane landed, his fingers didn't have any blood in them because they were.
Oh,
He was scared to death, and he said, "I'm not fly home. I'm driving." He's going to rent a car and drive. Then the next week we had to drive out there, and the football team was playing in San Angelo, and we were gonna, we went and scouted. I can't remember which school it was, but if we beat San Angelo, then we were gonna have to play somebody there or something. I can't remember, but we went and we drove from Plainview to El Paso, watched the game, drove from El Paso to San Angelo, coached the game, got in the car in San Angelo, and drove back to Plainview, and all in one day.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
It was over 24
Wow.
hours. But
Wow.
anyway, during that trip, we're driving down the road, and it's night, and this one particular coach is sitting in the in the front passenger seat. And you ever seen it when those big 18-wheeler trucks are pulling another one, just the cab over part?
Yeah.
And they're pulling them backwards sometimes. So I think I can't really remember which coach was driving, but we were going down the road, and this other coach is asleep in the passengers, and we get right up behind that truck that looks like it's fixing to run over us. And we all scream and slam on the brakes. He cut up for about 200, but anyway, that was a pretty good joke. It was better ones, but yeah, there were.
Oh my gosh.
Coach Keith was the best. He could do. He looked so innocent because he looked kind of like Bozo the Clown or something. No hair. Of course, I would have long hair too. Anyway, he was always, yeah. But yeah,
is he the one that looked like Crosby?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Okay, okay, I remember him now.
his
Yes.
son was Coach Parr's son this year, and they won the state championship.
Yes.
And Anna,
Oh wow.
they won
Nice.
the 4A state championship, or is it 5A? 4A.
I saw the game.
But-
I was at the ball game. It was amazing.
For you, I'd have seen it.
It was great.
But yeah, there was a lot of stuff. Okay, one other one that's kind of a fun story. And now you talked about. Now I want to say one thing about Coach Moore for you, Mike. You said he helped you with his pitching. You do know. I mean, I know that he played for the Brooklyn Dodgers, correct? The Brooklyn
Yeah, I
Dodgers.
heard that. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
He also played basketball for Kentucky and Adolph Rupp. Now
Yeah, that's B told me that. Told us
Wow.
last week. Yeah.
and his coach for the Brooklyn Dodgers was Branch Rickey. Now you read any college,
The owner?
not then.
The owner?
He was the coach.
Okay.
Yeah.
He hadn't bought him. He
But-
hadn't bought the team yet. Okay.
Yeah, and so yeah, those were the kind of people he ran with. And
Jeez.
when Scott signed it at West Point, Coach Moore and Coach Sherwood went up to see him, and they stopped in Kentucky where he's from. And Ed always told us that he could jump over a car when he was in college. And nobody, we all just laughed at him and, didn't believe him. He stops and is talking to somebody up there that he knew. And that guy said, "Do you remember when you jumped over that car?" That first ever believed him.
Was it moving? Was
No.
it moving towards him?
No,
Oh,
I think he just,
he
ran
just
it
okay.
over.
Okay. Okay.
But I mean, and if you'd ask him why he could throw a baseball so well, it's because he lived by a railroad track and he would throw hickory nuts at the train when it would go by. It was
Oh,
amazing.
wow.
Wow.
What about you, Coach Tomlin?
What about me? What?
Practical jokes? Are you-
You know, when we got there in '78, there was no practical jokes going on. We were busy. We knew we had a gold mine, and we had to mine it while we had it, and it was I don't know. We just worked. We worked hard and long hours, and I don't remember. We didn't. I was going to say, when Darrell Selke said he came up to the varsity and they had practical jokes, he was the one that brought all that stuff. I think the middle school.
I believe it.
I think the middle school staff had a lot more fun as far as that goes than we did.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was pretty much pay attention to your business. You didn't want Ed Moore unhappy with you, so you worked. You stayed busy.
Okay, Tomlin, what does this look like? I don't know if you see it. Can you see my hands?
Yes.
Remember seeing when Ed was mad at you? That's one of the things he would do. That he'd just put a hand up, and turn his head away. I mean, just snap at you.
Yeah,
He was
Oh
pretty
my
special.
goodness. Oh my goodness. How
I'm going to tell
what
and you
fun
may-
memories.
Yeah, I'll tell this last one, and then I'm not going to tell any more story. But
that's not right.
We were in the coach's office after I had moved up. And Dennis probably wasn't. Well, I know he wasn't there because I didn't move up until he left. And but anyway, we were in the coach's office, and there's a couple of things you never said. You never said what if. That was not smart, because that would really upset people. Or you didn't use the word potential. I came in from practice one day, and Coach Moore said, "Well, how did old such and such do today?" And I said, "Coach, I think he's going to be okay. I think he's got potential." And man, it's like somebody turned a switch. Ed looked at me. Potential, hell, potential means you ain't never done nothing. You know, he didn't want any potential. He wanted to see action. And so that was you know, the day he died, I thought I'll never get to argue with him about that again. But
hey, Coach Selke, I'll tell you a story. I forgot what summer. It could have been after our 7th grade or 8th grade. Andrew and I worked with you and Coach Upchurch in your roofing company. And I think I did 1 or 2 houses with you guys. And I was like, no more for me. It was too hot. And carrying those shingles up the ladder, I was like, nope, not gonna do it anymore, Coach. Sorry. But yeah, I remember you had I think it was Upchurch. Was it Upchurch, your partner? When you had your roofing company?
Huh? I had every
Sorry?
kind of company that I have.
It was roofing, so we just it was, again. Sorry.
I said we roofed.
Yeah.
In the summers, we had to so we could eat.
I can believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's hard work.
Yeah, it is. It was.
I hired Willie Ainsley and David McAdoo to help me one time, and I had to go to town to get some equipment. And when I got back, they had ropes tied on the shingles. They didn't want to climb that rope anymore, so they had ropes up. I said, "Guys, that." Another time, Coach Keith was helping me, and he started running across it. And do you remember a teacher named Manning? She was a teacher at Coronado, but anyway, her son played and all. But Steve was running across their roof and fell through and went all the way down through the living room.
Oh, geez.
That didn't make a job. But
oh my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah, they were happy.
Well, Lacey, have any?
No, I'm just so. No, we're gonna wrap up here, but it's so nice to see you gentlemen after all these years. And I can't thank you enough. Michael and I can't thank you enough for coming on board. Oh, we lost Coach Tomlin. I wonder if he accidentally, if his phone died. Maybe he'll log back in.
Yeah, maybe he'll come back.
Coach Selke, where are you from originally?
Abernathy.
Okay.
Just right there by place. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was yeah, just a small town boy.
Okay.
But
well,
Coach
there he
Tomlin,
is. He's coming back.
He's coming back.
Yeah, one of his buddies right now is the dad of. He was the head coach at Abernathy, and now I'm talking about Bryson Dennis. Can you hear me, Dennis? I don't think he hears me. Anyway, his grandfather, this kid from Abernathy, his dad was the coach, and then his grandfather he played ball with Dennis at Silverton. And
oh wow,
anyway,
what a small world.
Yeah, he's the starting quarterback at West Point now.
Oh wow.
Oh my goodness.
He's great athlete, great kid. But Dennis he's friends with all of those. I wish.
Well, I do have one more question. So, did either one of you coach any players that went on to play at the professional level?
Kenneth Story did.
I've had a few. Yeah, he was in Chicago for a while. I had one kid that named Quan Cosby at Mart, and Quan was first team All-State quarterback, first team All-State safety, first team kick returner, MVP of the state 2 years in a row. And in his 4 years of high school, he lost 4 games and won 3 state championships. And so when he did all of that, and when it came time to graduate, he went to the Angels and played pro baseball for 4 years, then got out and he came back and he went to the University of Texas and started for them at Split End for 4 years. He played when they won the national championship with Vince Young. He was number 6 that sprung on that long run. And then he played 4 years of pro football. So he played both football.
Oh, nice.
And then when I left Plainview, I came to Meridian, and one of my players there is a guy named Daniel Campbell, and he's the head coach for the Detroit Lions right now.
Oh,
but he played
nice.
Yeah, he was one of my players in junior high, and but he's a good guy. He's a real good guy. But he played at A&M, and then he played for New York, and then he played for the Cowboys, and then he was Miami's interim coach, and then he went to Detroit. So those are the two that played football. I've had some others play baseball. No, that Quan's the best athlete. I always said that Willie Ainsley was the best athlete I ever coached, but he wasn't as good as Quan, and he was a 2A football player. But he won state in the 100 and 200 3 years in a row. He could go, and he's a good guy. He's a real good guy. But,
wow, that's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Coach, I don't think you were logged in. My question was, did any player that you coach make it to the professional level?
No, the best athlete I ever knew was Wendy Williams. He played for Joe Kerbel at West Texas State University. Do you know Joe Kerbel or of him?
No.
He's the opposite of Greg Sherwood.
Okay.
He was big.
Yeah, but anyway, no, I really never really coached people that made it to the pros.
Except Kenneth Story, he made it.
Well, yeah, Kenneth Story.
Yeah, he made it. So.
Thank you for that. but no, I, but I worked with some unbelievable kids and unbelievable high school athletes. Wouldn't and Plainview was full of them.
Yeah.
Good.
You know what
There's-
stands out about this conversation for me is that both of you seem proud but humble, but also that you really feel like you were very privileged to do what you did.
There's no question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got 4 amazing kids, 13 amazing grandkids, and had a job that made me happy. So I don't know that better.
I can't imagine having to go to work every day and not love what you're doing. And I got up every day wanting to go to school, wanting to go to work for 34 years. I just can't imagine any other way. And there's people that don't have the privilege to do that.
I know.
And I was privileged and blessed to get to do that. My entire working career, you couldn't ask for better. You just couldn't.
All right. Sorry, I gotta ask one more question. What about those Rawlings shorts you guys used to wear? Oh Lord!
Those double knit shorts.
We wondered about them.
Do
Well,
what, Coach?
I say we wondered about them too.
No comment, Coach T.
No comment
one of
about them. I was so
There's
glad
one
when
other
those
thing I thought you
disappeared.
I said Wendy Williams a while ago. When I was at Meridian, we were pretty good, fair, and we thought we were going to get to play this particular team in the semifinals, and we got upset the week before. But anyway, I'd gone to scout them, and I stole their signals. They signaled in plays, and I stole their signals, and I was pretty happy about that because that would really help us. Well, we get eliminated, but Wendy is winning at White. They're playing for the state championship against that team that I got their signals. So I called Wendy and I told him, I said, okay, this is what they're going to do when they do this. This is what they're going to do when they do this. And he said, what are you doing Saturday night? I said, well, I'm going to come to y'all's game. And he said, press box. And I said, yeah, sure. And I was thinking about getting. And anyway, I would watch their coach. He would call a play. I would call it Wendy, and they'd stunt right into it. And it ended up this team goal line fixing to score to take the win and to beat Wendy out. And I caught the play and called it down to Wendy, and he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "No, not really, but I think that's what they're going to run." And he stunted right into it. They stopped the guy on the 1 yard line. Williams wins the state championship.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
That was fun. That was one of my fun things. But Wendy was and he'd have won it without that other stuff. He had what were those kids? The 2 brothers.
Zach and Bart Thomas.
Yeah, Zach Thomas was his
Yeah.
ball.
He what?
Zach was the ball boy on that team, and Bart was
No. He was a freshman linebacker. On that team. He started at inside linebacker, and he was the best football player on the field as a 15-year-old freshman. And when they won that state championship.
And this is Zach Thomas that went to Tech and played
Yes.
Miami. That's a Hall of Famer. Wow.
Yes.
If you could have seen the induction, Wendy was on the front row, right in the middle of it.
Yes.
Oh,
He
I need
flew
to look at the video.
Yeah, he flew Wendy out there, and then afterwards they had dinner at his ranch, and Wendy was the guest of honor, one of the guest of honors. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
But that was very
wow.
touching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you a quick story about Zach. When I was living in Lubbock, I was working for Black Memorial Schematic, and we had, I think, some type of trade show. But anyway, we had, who was that colorful lineman for the Cowboys back in the 90s when they were winning? He was very colorful. But anyway, we had him there, and Zach Thomas is still playing for Tech, met him. And of course, they exchanged some words, and then Zach left. And that was a Cooper. Ah, man, I got to remember. Anyway, he said he's not going to make it in the pros. He's too small. There's no
Too little.
way. It's too little. And look what happened.
Yeah.
Well, that's where Tomlin and I, I don't know if we either one were very good coaches. I think we were okay, but man, we got to be around some good ones.
I mean,
We got to be around some good ones, some great kids, great coach, and a great town. And many times I wished I'd have stayed there, but you just don't do that. Coaches just don't stay long. Coach Sherwood told me 3 years is as long as you could stay. After 3 years, all the enemies you can make.
well, I coached at 9 different places in my years. So
Wow, that's
yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah. I'd come home and I'd tell my girls, your clothes are all brand new. They knew what that meant. We were moving.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I
Well,
guess
I
that
was
was
gonna
tough for
ask
him,
y'all.
huh?
Yeah, I was going to ask y'all earlier. Did your coaching careers take a toll on your family? But you couldn't do what you did without the support of your family.
my family loved it. They, my wife and 2 girls, they loved as much or more than I did. They really didn't want me to do anything else. It was good for them.
Yeah, and that's the way Kobe actually worked with. He coached with me for 1 year, and that was one of the most fun times for me. And I never even had to punch him out.
Oh my gosh. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. This has been really awesome. And to hear these great stories that you've shared with all of us. And we're just so appreciative. And it's so nice to see you after all these years.
Absolutely. I agree with Lisa. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome. Our pleasure.
Thing works.
Do I now?
What, Coach Selke? You cut out.
I said we appreciate the fact that, and for all of the time you guys have put together this thing that you're doing,
Yeah,
and getting a lot of people that we enjoy seeing a lot. I still am close to a lot of them, but actually both of us, Luthez,
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a little brother to me, and they're just so many. So Plainview, it's got a great big place in our hearts.
Yep.
And, wouldn't miss it.
I'm sure he's going to watch this episode. I just talked to him on the phone last week.
Well, things I could tell.
Yeah, but there's some stories we can't tell. That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
His story. Say,
Well,
okay,
thank you.
we my coaches can do that.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. And we hope you'll consider coming back on again when we can get another round of coaches to come on board that are still with us.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We love it.
Maybe we'll bring you guys on with some players.
Yeah, because we got more stories.
All right.
Selke
Beautiful.
and I aren't done.
Okay.
All right. Thank
Well,
you.
coaches,
All right.
good night. Peace
All right,
and love
good
to
night.
you guys. Peace and love. Good night.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Coach Tomlin, the next time I'm in Lubbock, I'm calling you so we can have a cup of coffee together.
Please do.
I would love
Please
that.
do. Okay.
Are you
Thank you.
come to? We can go to see whatever that home builder guy is.
Okay.
Magnolia.
Yes. Magnolia. Yes. And I go through there all the time. So be ready for a phone call from me. I'd like
Okay.
to see you in person.
Yes. Thank you, Lisa.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Good night,
Okay.
guys.
Good night.
Good night.
How do I turn this thing?
It's just a leave meeting, coach. There you go. Wow.
Oh my gosh,
I
Michael.
know, right? That
Yes.
was touching. It's very touching.
Yes.
So
I love
yeah,
that
I
they
want.
really came on board to share their stories. And, I mean, like, we didn't even have to ask any of the questions. They answered all the questions without us
Yeah,
having to ask them.
exactly. And that's what we love. I mean, that's our goal. It's like, yes, we got these questions, but no, just start sharing the stories you remember about people, coaches, teachers, and that story about old T. Ryan. Wow, that's going to touch a lot of people once they view our video.
Oh my gosh, I
I
got a
didn't
big,
know about that. Yeah,
I didn't either, but I got a huge lump in my throat. But, I don't know, one of the shows that we did, somebody mentioned that about Coach Sherwood
it
getting,
was really.
yes, and
I
I
must
can't remember who it was.
has been the
Somebody out
twirlers.
there. I
Has
think
been
so.
the twirlers.
I think it was
Fanchon or
Jeannie or
Jeannie.
yes, yes. But hearing it from them and from their perspective and their, I don't know, it really touched my
Right,
heart.
right. Well, yeah, we had a good one. So you want to let everyone know next Tuesday we're gonna do another one. You want to go ahead and let them know
Yes.
who's going to join
Next
us?
Tuesday, we're having a cheerleader episode. And it'll be the first year that I was varsity. And we have a group of gals that are coming on. Only one of them isn't going to make it, but I'm not even going to tell you. We'll just wait for the introduction. It's the cheerleader special next Tuesday. So stay tuned,
Absolutely.
everyone. And
All right,
thank
Miss
you.
Elisa.
Please pass the word around that this is, going on, and we need to get more people involved so we can hear
Yeah.
more stories.
Yeah, don't wait for us to contact you. You guys
No,
start
call
calling your
us.
friends and and hey, just reach out to us. We'd love to hear. I mean, everyone and
Yes.
stories again. So, but I'm looking forward for Tuesday as well. But
Yeah.
and
Same here.
Saturday, I'm going to. We're trying different platforms uh, to use for our show, and this one is a live stream one. So I'm going to test it Saturday, and it's not the issue that which software to use. I live in the country, out in the country, and my internet's really bad. So I'm hoping this hotspot Verizon is going to help, so we can maybe start trying to do some live stream on Facebook and YouTube. So Saturday night, it's a 9 o'clock standard Central Standard Time. And Lisa, again, you're welcome if you want to join Andrew Dunlap and Patrick Smith and I. So it's gonna be a fun evening. So, but either way, if not, we'll see you Tuesday.
All right, everyone. See you.
Peace and love.
Bye.
Peace and love. Bye.